Hello and welcome to Richland Spotlight, an ongoing program where we talk with city employees and shine some light on projects, events, and hot topics taking place in our city. Well, today we are privileged to welcome the City of Richland Public Works Director Pete Rogalski to the program. Pete, thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Good to be here.
You're right on. Well, we brought you on the program to talk about an exciting project that has been a long time in planning. And of course, I'm talking about the Duportail Corridor project. You know, and we have some exciting new information to talk about today regarding the construction within the Duportail Corridor. But before we dive into that, let's take people back a few years and just talk about the city's action plan for completing the Duportail Bridge.
Yeah, very good. So this does go back almost a decade now when we did this a big planning effort to increase traffic capacity and connectivity around the city and identified this Duportail-Stevens corridor. And so it starts right here in downtown, close to where we are right now, and then ends up in the Queensgate shopping district. And the Duportail Bridge is the most visible segment of that, but to really make it work, it needed to be linked all the way into town and have some improved connections through the existing part of Richland. So we've been working on all of it for the better part of a decade, most visibly the bridge, and some of those pieces, all of the pieces actually, are starting to fall into place, so it's pretty exciting.
Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing that. And you know, the Stevens extension was the first segment of the Duportail Corridor project to be completed, and you know, work finished up in late 2015 on that project, and now we just have a beautiful stretch of road that connects Stevens up to Welshon Way. So maybe talk a little bit about the design, you know, sort of the amenities and, you know, the engineering that went into creating that roadway.
Yeah, so what we're trying to create here is a bit different than what historically was built in Richland. We did a transportation plan in 2005 that sort of tried to look forward as to how do people want to get around and what kind of connections do they need. And basically the conclusion was you want to provide the ability for people to travel however they want to and give them choices, whether they be in a vehicle or a transit bus or walking or on a bicycle. And you want their environment, and if they are walking, particularly in a commercial area, you want it to feel comfortable to be walking. So you'll see in some of the street projects we've done, particularly in commercial areas, they have wider sidewalks and they have trees adjacent to the street, and the trees are kind of supposed to be nice to look at, but they're also supposed to create this sort of safe zone between traffic and the pedestrian that makes it comfortable to be on the sidewalk instead of right next to a car. So that Stevens extension has that, has wider sidewalks and trees that as they grow will create this comfortable environment, and if development occurs next to them, then we hope that builds on that concept and makes it a comfortable place to be. The street has striped bike lanes on it so that people that choose to drive have their own space, choose to ride a bicycle have their own space. And then it has the travel lanes and the intersection treatments and stuff that make traveling efficient and safe. And so all of these segments, and Stevens being the first one to be built, will have those components. Altogether, you know, nationally and statewide, that oftentimes comes with the name a complete street. And so you can say, we haven't adopted, for instance, in our city, a formal policy about complete streets, but that's the concept. We want our streets to work for everybody that wants to use them.
Sure, and it certainly is a beautiful roadway and one that's been heavily used since it did get completed. And you know, back in 2014, the City of Richland held an open house to discuss the second phase of the Duportail Corridor project, and the second phase consists of two construction contracts that both meet at Robert Avenue, and the two contracts will be called the Duportail Extension and the Duportail Reconstruction. And I'm excited to report that construction on these projects will begin in June of this year. So similar question, you know, please share with us like the design of these projects and sort of a time frame.
Yeah, so you mentioned when we hope to start, and we think we're on track to start in June, and that's pretty exciting to see these things come to fruition. Those two projects will have very similar characteristics what I just described about Stevens, except they won't have trees because they're going through residential neighborhoods where the people have landscaping in their front yards, and we don't feel the need to landscape the space up there. One of the main topics of the open house, and something that we've followed up on, was what should those intersections look like? We're sensitive to the fact that improving that street, on the one hand, will make the street itself safer and more accessible to many people, but it will likely make it busier too. We expect it to be busier. And so we wanted to be sensitive to how the road was built to support people that are it's still part of their neighborhood. So the conclusion was that the intersections at Wright Street and at Thayer will have roundabouts on them. And one of the primary benefits about roundabouts, for one, it's intersection safety. They have far fewer crashes at them than a signalized intersection. They also essentially everybody has to slow down to use a roundabout properly. So between Wellesian Way and the bypass highway, with a more traditional, or the intersections that Richland typically has with a signal or a stop sign at them, you'd have a straight shot between those two things, and people that were in a hurry might choose to go fast. The roundabouts sort of help with that. They make you slow down a couple times in the route and sort of reinforce the idea that you're in a neighborhood. The other thing we did is that we asked the city's Arts Commission to help us give those roundabouts a look and feel that would add character. You know, and it's not just a road. And roundabouts, that center part of a roundabout, gives you an obvious opportunity to make a statement or to make something look nice. And so the Arts Commission helped us out. We have some designs that are rather simple, but they're not engineering surfaces of concrete and asphalt. We even actually have a couple pieces of art we'll be placing in the middle of the roundabout. So we're excited that these projects can really contribute to a nice look and feel, in addition to improved functionality in the neighborhoods.
Perfect. And one thing I wanted to maybe clarify or touch base on with the Duportail extension piece, we're actually going to be constructing a new roadway right from, I guess, Stevens, and then up the the hill to connect up to, I believe it's Duportail, but at Thayer. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah, that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
I mean, and if people, to visualize that, we did this some years ago at the south, at the south end of Thayer, when we built this lawless drive that kind of crosses and moves down that slope down to Wellesian Way. And so this new segment of Duportail that starts at Wellesian Way and ends up at Thayer will have a similar trajectory to it. We'll angle up the hill to make it not quite so steep, and then arrive up at Thayer in a roundabout. So
big things happening. And are there plans for, is there a stoplight that's going to go in at Wellesian and Stevens, kind of where Stevens comes up now?
Yeah.
And so maybe just talk a little bit about that and why that was needed. That's probably something that might sneak up on people if they don't know it's coming.
Yeah, well, basically you've got two collector or arterial streets coming together. Over time, we expect that to be a busier intersection, and particularly with Wellesian Way having 2 lanes in each direction, we determined that a traffic signal was the best treatment there to just give people a safe way to get across and not introduce too many challenges. Like we still have a certain amount of discomfort with multi-lane roundabouts, and some people are less comfortable with how those work. So Wellesian Way has traffic signals on it. People are used to driving through those and know what they look like in town, and so it'll have a traffic signal.
No, so I mean, a big and exciting construction project set for this summer, starting in June. And Richland's Duportail Bridge continues to build momentum, and in fact, action by the 2015 Washington State legislators secured, the first significant contribution of $20 million towards the project's construction. So with that, what's the current status of the bridge, and are we at a point where we can put a dot on the calendar for its construction to begin?
Yes, we've done that. And there's the plan is to actually be able to hire a construction contractor at the end of 2017. So there's still quite a few moving pieces that could affect that, and so it's a tentative date now. But it is a target. It is a target date, and we think the issues in front of us, we know what they are, and they're not, and we think we have a path to resolving them. So we have that date in mind. A couple of the key issues are we don't have all the money yet. So calendar year 2016 is the year that we've sort of allowed ourselves to maximize any efforts we can to obtain additional grants to what the legislature did. Thanks, tremendous thanks to legislative leaders in our district and in statewide for supporting our project that way. And then there's a few other things. We're still acquiring a little bit of land, and we have final design to complete. So, and some permits to get. So there are a number of steps left. Things are starting to come together.
Right, perfect. Well, Pete, thank you so much for coming on the program and giving us such a thorough update on the Duportail Corridor project. Now, if you would like more information on the Duportail Bridge or the upcoming Duportail Street extension and reconstruction, please visit the City of Richland's webpage at the link at the bottom of your screen. And once there, click on Public Works, and then Engineering and Private Development, and then finally, Capital Projects. Well, I'm Mark Ingham, and thanks for joining us on Richland Spotlight.